It's Monday, July 27, 2020. Digital Trends Live is about to start. Here are some of the topics we're covering on today's episode of the show. The Great Tech Summit has a new date as the Congressional Antitrust Subcommittee has confirmed that the CEOs of Facebook, Google, Apple, and Amazon will appear. We'll get you the details. And the NBA is set to return on Thursday from the Orlando bubble, but with a very different experience for fans. We'll be joined by Sarah Zuckert, who's their head of Next Gen Telecast. And NASA is preparing for the launch of the Perseverance rover in a Mars mission. They'll bring a helicopter to another planet for the first time. Georgina Torbett will be here to walk us through the plan. And it's Monday, which means it's time for another edition of Awesome Tech You Can't Buy Yet with our own Drew Prindle here to talk about crowdfunding campaigns like the logically named Devoom Pixu Max. All of that and more on today's episode of Digital Trends Live. And hello, everyone. This is Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler. Thank you for joining us here wherever you are. We appreciate it. We broadcast live every weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, bringing you trending tech headlines, news, interviews, discussions, and more. So hit that subscribe button and let's get started with some news right now. And then updates to something we were featuring last week that was supposed to happen today. We have a new date for the Antitrust Subcommittee hearing that's going to be happening in Congress, where they're bringing 4 of the top tech CEOs in the world to task in front of them. So this is what's going to be going on here. So they're bringing the head CEOs of Apple, Tim Cook, you've got Amazon, you've got Alphabet, Google, and Facebook. All 4 of them are going to be appearing there virtually before this subcommittee. And this is in accordance with this antitrust investigation that's been going on for about 13 months into the tech sector, in particular with these giant companies, to see whether or not they are having an effect on smaller businesses. So with that, though, we do have some more news that's coming out because, as usual, when it comes to these kinds of investigations, it doesn't sound like the questions are going to stick just to that. Does appear to be some Republican lawmakers who have offered that they plan to focus also on anti-conservative bias on online platforms. They want to focus on censorship of speech. So and what we're expecting is some questions going kind of all over the board here when it does come down to this. But the date is Wednesday when this is going to be happening. So all 4 of them, like I said, will be appearing there virtually in front of Congress, in front of this subcommittee to speak. We don't know exactly how the format's going to work yet, whether it's all 4 at the same time, whether they each take turns, but this is what's going to be going on. It does promise to be a very big event. This is the first time you're going to have that many tech CEOs like this, all in front of Congress like this at that same time. So certainly a big event that's going to be happening. We've got more details about it at digitaltrends.com, and we'll be carrying it live here as well on Wednesday. So certainly follow along for all the details on that. Continuing on here with trending news, let's give you another update about Garmin. For those of you who use Garmin's services, you know that they have had a big outage that's been going on for several days now, and they're slowly starting to get back up, according to the reports. So it's not 100% yet. So we know a few more things. One, as they're starting to get back online after this ransomware attack, and that was what it was a ransomware attack, which took down services for all kinds of devices. It even took down their customer service where they couldn't get access to their company. And this is something that we've seen happen to more and more, in particular U.S. companies with these ransomware attacks, to where they freeze everything up. They demand money in order to release it. The money that was demanded was reported to be about $10 million. Now, we don't know if they paid it. We don't know the details on that. Companies are encouraged not to pay it. But as far as this attack itself, according to reports, and this isn't officially from Garmin, but according to reports, sources are saying that it does seem to have been caused by an outfit called Wasted Locker. And Wasted Locker, if you're not familiar with them, it's a kind of ransomware where they can get in there and freeze everything up, and then they can release it, for a payment. So like a typical ransomware thing, but it's a newer one. And this is being run by a company called, an organization called Evil Corp. So Evil Corp is an actual entity in Russia. It's headed by a Russian national by the name of Maxim Yakubets. And again, this is what's being reported, that they are the ones that could be behind this thing. They've got a long history of this, where they've been able to take up over $100 million, it's estimated, from banks over the past decade. So it's being speculated that they are the ones behind this, but nonetheless, it did certainly bring down Garmin. They are trying to get back up. As they slowly do make it back on there, we'll keep you up to date at digitaltrends.com, letting you know what some of the details are. But again, those are the reports of what happened to them. So a ransomware attack happening to Garmin. We'll have all the details there at digitaltrends.com. Continuing on with trending news, let's talk about Samsung with their Unpacked event coming up on August 5th, where they have promised to release 5 new power devices. Well, they're just showing more of it right now. So they've released another trailer here today to showcase what's going to be going on, and they even have silhouettes of the products that show up on there. It's using that Mystic Copper, that color that they're talking about. It's got, again, teasing the fact that they're going to be releasing the new Galaxy Note 20, which we already know, the regular and the Ultra versions, a Galaxy Fold 2, which has been highly anticipated, a Galaxy Watch, the Galaxy Buds Plus, and a Galaxy Tab S7. And S7 Plus tablets. So it's going to be one of across that board. How they're going to do it, we don't know. They did tease that they're going to be there at Digital City, which is Samsung's headquarters. So maybe they'll have something special for that. Usually these events are taking place in San Francisco or New York. So certainly going to be a different performance, obviously, since everything is now done remotely and virtually. But that is what we're going to get. So you see right there, they pretty much give it away as far as what we're going to see. You can see all the products right there, but we'll get the more details about them when that does happen. So again, that's happening on August 5th. That's Samsung's Galaxy Unpacked event showcasing those new devices. And you can read our kind of report and what we expect at digitaltrends.com. Continuing on with trending news, let's talk about Netflix capitalizing on the popularity of one of their shows, and that is The Witcher. The Witcher now getting another spin-off, and this one being a prequel live action series. There was already the announcement of an anime series that was going to be spin-off from it, but this is a prequel that is going to be showcasing 1,200 years before Geralt, and what it is, it's The Witcher Blood Origin, so this is where the series is going to be taking place, so 1,200 years again before that, and this is Netflix talking about the popularity of The Witcher, where it was one of their highest rated shows of all time. So it's going to be a 6-part live action spin-off. And again, we don't, of course, know when this is going to be able to come to fruition, as shooting schedules are completely different right now. But that is what we're going to be seeing. So a spin-off taking place 1,200 years before from Netflix for The Witcher Blood Origin. So follow along with the details there. As we get more, we'll have those at digitaltrends.com. Continuing on with trending news, talking about something that was supposed to be happening this year, much like many other products. There were a lot of delays that are going on, but now we do have a new date for Rivian. Now, this is the electric pickup that was supposed to be coming out already this year, but now we've got a date where it's going to be summer 2021. Now, the Rivian's pretty highly anticipated. They are entering into this market with the backing of Amazon and Ford, both companies that started to investing in them. They're considered to be a competitor maybe with Tesla for the Cybertruck, although the Rivian pickup doesn't look quite as futuristic as the, well, I guess futuristic or quite as unique as the Tesla Cybertruck, we'll say that. But nonetheless, this is something that a lot of people are looking forward to. So it's the R1T and R1S, and production was, again, supposed to be starting this year, but now they said summer 2021 is when they're going to be rolling out. There's a lot of other companies now that have kind of caught up that are going to be releasing electric trucks as well. You've got the Ford F-150, the E version at some point. You've got GMC with their E-Hummer, the Lordstown Endurance, and of course the Tesla Cybertruck, which they just announced that they're going to be building theirs in Texas. So big competition on the way for that, but Rivian certainly an interesting one for the competition there with when it comes to e-vehicles, and in particular e-pickup trucks. So Rivian now announcing that summer 2021 is when you'll be able to get your hands on one of those. Continuing on with trending news, finally right here, we're going to talk about NASA and the Perseverance rover launch. So this is the launch to Mars that's coming up later this week, and they've got one more check to do before they're officially cleared, and that is the launch readiness review. It's taking place today. After it's done, they're going to have a press conference, and what that's going to be is it's just going to kind of showcase that final check up to make sure that they've got everything in order and ready to go for the launch, which is expected to be Thursday is when the launch window opens. We don't know exactly, if something could change with this. Like most launches, if you follow those, sometimes weather could have an effect. But that is when we're anticipating it. And we'll also have Georgina Torbett here shortly to walk through a lot more details about what's going to be happening during that launch. But definitely an exciting time for NASA and for anybody who's a space enthusiast. So again, they're going through that final launch readiness test today. All right, let's go ahead and what we're going to do, though, is we've got a lot coming up here on the docket for Digital Trends Live. So I want to say thank you to everybody who's joining us. We keep you up to date with the news here every day when we come in. But what we're going to do is going to go to a break, because up next, I'm very excited to talk about this because the NBA is returning. I'm an NBA fan. But that, of course, experience is going to be completely different than anything that we're used to before. And that includes the fan experience. And we've got Sarah Zuckert from the NBA to talk about what that's going to be like. Stick around. Back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler, and thanks for joining us wherever you are. Hit that subscribe button, and we thank everybody who gets to be here for the conversations that we get to have. And certainly, the pandemic has affected everything, and that includes sports. But now we're starting to see some leagues start back up, and the NBA is next on the docket. And certainly, that experience is going to be different for everybody involved, but it's also kind of exciting to see how technology can change that and advance it. So that's what we're going to talk about right now. We've got Sarah Zuckert, who's the head of Next Gen Telecast for the NBA. Sarah, thank you so much for being here with us.
Greg, thanks so much for having me.
I'll say I'm an NBA fan, so I am definitely excited about the return to the schedule. But to give everybody a little bit of context, one of the things about NBA games is that that home crowd, that atmosphere that the games get, whether you're watching it online or whether you're there in person, always a big factor. And naturally, we can't have that this year. And I know the NBA is doing some unique things to help change that up and keep that going. Can you talk to us about what your plan is for those experiences?
Absolutely. So we're really focused on bringing our fans closer to the game as much as possible, given the unique circumstance that we're in. And that starts with things like camera angles. Some fans may have seen already. We're getting closer to the game as much as we can, working with our great partners at TNT and ESPN, as well as all of our regional networks. I'm really looking forward to those camera angles. And we're also allowing fans to cheer virtually through Twitter and through NBA.com and the NBA app. There'll be virtual cheering challenges, and you'll see those results reflected in the arena. The players will see them as well as a way to bring energy back to the venue and let the players know that the fans at home are cheering. And we're also really excited that through Microsoft, we'll be able to bring fans into the arena digitally. About 300 fans per game will be on fan boards, so, screens that is supporting surrounding the court. Those fans will be seen and heard live in the venue, and so the players will see them and the fans at home will see them as well. And we're really looking forward to bringing that energy back to the arena in the most genuine way that we could. We know it will look different, but we're excited for what the new technology can bring. And it's been off to a great start so far.
Well, talking about that with the tech side of things, so you're going to have these giant screens that are just kind of encircling the entire court, is from what I'm understanding. So 17-foot screens that are going to be there. And then with that, you said you're bringing people in via Microsoft Teams. So how does that actually work? How are fans getting access to that? Like who gets to do that, and what is that process like?
Sure. So we're working with our NBA teams to find fans to participate, and that's through giveaways, through working with community groups, other things like that. Each team will be doing this separately on their own with their own fans, and we're grateful to be able to give teams that ability as well, our teams that is. And then separately, we will be giving away some fans through our partners at Michelob. This is the Michelob Ultra courtside experience. We're very, very happy about this partnership, and Michelob Ultra will be giving away some tickets as well at ultracourtside.com.
To talk about what that experience is like there at the actual venue, one thing I've been watching some other sports leagues just to see how they're doing it, and now MLB they'll bring it in for the broadcast, bring in like fan noises so it sounds like people are cheering or booing or whatever the case may be. How is the NBA handling that from both the viewer standpoint, from somebody at home watching? Will there be piped in extra sounds? And then also with that, how does that change for the NBA players themselves? Will they get extra boosted audio, or is it just going to be quiet in there for them?
One of the great things about Michelob Ultra Courtside is that they're going to be hearing the fans, those 300 or so fans. They'll be heard in the venue and heard on the telecast as well. And so while of course, will sound a little bit different than an NBA arena. You will still hear those real cheers going on. And so we think that'll be a great opportunity for players on the court and for fans at home, because this will be audible in our broadcasts on all of our networks, on League Pass. And so this will be, a great opportunity to be able to hear those fans and hear the energy.
I will say, just to be honest with that sounds like a bold move to give 300 people a voice in a live broadcast. Just as you know, most people are going to be fine, but you never know. Are there any plans for how that's going to be moderated or controlled in some way?
Yes, and so on the audio itself, we're going to mix voices together. You won't necessarily hear an individual person screaming out one thing, for example. But yes, we are also planning moderators. We'll have a number of moderators for every game, who, I think we're optimistic that we won't really need to go to any great lengths here. But in the event that there is bad behavior, the moderator will be able to act on that. But I think we all
Nice.
are excited about our fans having the opportunity to really cheer.
Oh no, that's a really cool experience. I mean, just the idea of that. I mean, again, it's rethinking everything right now. But I love this idea of people being able to be there. Now, you mentioned camera angles. Can you talk about that and what somebody at home would be able to do, and what kinds of different angles are they going to get to see with this year?
Absolutely. So, because there are no fans, and this really is almost a soundstage that we're setting up here, we're able to move cameras closer to the game than we ever have before. We have new robotic cameras. We're, as always, focused on player health and safety first and foremost. So many of our camera angles have been replaced by new robotic technology, and in new positions. So we've got cameras, over 31 cameras on every court, including a rail cam that will run up and down the court, parallel to the players, that really captures the feel of the game. We also have new under the basket robotics that capture what's going on in the paint. It's a really cool angle that we're excited about. And we also have something we call courtside cam, which is approximately 10 rows back from the court. It would be in a normal arena what you would get from a courtside seat, and really bringing in that angle around the foul line to allow fans to see what's going on. All of our broadcasts will feature all of these angles, and we'll also make some of these available through NBA League Pass and our partners at TNT and ESPN on digital platforms, so that if you prefer to watch the game from one of those angles, you can.
That's pretty cool. I mean, one of the things about NBA games in particular is the closer you are to the court, the more it's just a different game when you're down there. So giving somebody that kind of angle and that kind of viewpoint of it, that's really exciting to actually see how that works. Now, looking at this, technology, and obviously we don't know what the future holds when it comes to any of this stuff, but eventually someday we'll go back to somewhat normal broadcasts and normal games. Was this kind of technology something that you would think to maybe incorporate in once we get back to actual arena basketball?
Yes, we're always focused on innovating our games, and this is a very different and unique opportunity for us to test things out. And so we've taken some learnings from prior testing and brought them here to Orlando, and we'll, of course, depending on what our fans like, and we do appreciate feedback, we'll take some of that forward into the future games as well. I think none of us can really predict what the future will hold, but we are going to use this as a learning opportunity to see, what fans like, and we're optimistic that everyone will like all of it. And so I think this really will be a launch pad for what the future of our games will look like.
Well, it's really exciting. I mean, like we said in the beginning, nobody knew we were going to be here right now, but clearly you're coming up with unique and innovative ways to help bring this game, to people. Everybody wants to see a game, and this is certainly an interesting way to do it and utilizing technology. So it's kind of exciting in that aspect, actually, to see how it all works out. And like you said, it adapts as you go. But Sarah, I want to say thank you very much for joining us here, to talk about this and walk through what you're doing. Really exciting stuff that you're creating, and thanks for being here on Digital Trends Live.
Thank you, and encourage all of your viewers to tune in on Thursday night on TNT and see what it looks like live.
Absolutely. Thursday, NBA returns, so everybody go check that out. And thanks so much, Sarah.
Thank you.
All right, so it's definitely exciting. I was actually watching some of that myself over the weekend, some of the scrimmages, and it's really unique how they're handling all of that. So technology kind of changing things. I know we need to get to a break because we've got more tech to talk about. We've got Georgina Torbitt up next to talk about the Mars launch that's coming up this week as well. It's an exciting week in tech. Stick around. Back in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. everyone, this is Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler, and coming up this week is scheduled to be the launch of the Mars rover Perseverance, another Mars mission for NASA. And to talk about all of that and walk us through what's going to be happening with this exciting time, we have Georgina Torbett. Georgina, as always, hello. This is an exciting week for space. And to start off with, I guess, to give everybody kind of an idea, what is this mission all about?
Sure. So this is a really exciting mission because it's one of the first missions that's aimed primarily at looking for evidence of ancient life on Mars. So scientists are pretty sure that there's nothing living on Mars now, but they have pretty good reason to think that there could have been millions of years ago. They know that Mars was similar to Earth in a lot of ways, that it had a lot of water on its surface, that it had a thicker atmosphere. So they think there might have been microbial life at some point in the planet's history. And so the point of Perseverance is really to go out and to look for evidence of that life, which is a really exciting mission.
So with that, how do they go about looking for the evidence? What specifically are some of the things that Perseverance is going to be able to do?
So one of the main ways that they look for evidence is by looking at the rocks that you can find on the planet. So firstly, you can look at the rocks with cameras, or you can use instruments called spectrometers, which use light to analyze rock samples. And the idea is they're looking for, very often they look for sedimentary rocks, which are rocks with different layers that are laid down over time. And so if you found a whole bunch of layers that seemed to be mostly similar, and then right in the middle, there was a layer of something unusual, then that would give you an indication that something really important happened at that period of history. And so they're looking for things like unusual rock formations, which suggest that there might have been something biological going on, and also what are called organic compounds, which are particular kinds of chemicals that are associated with the presence of life.
And one of the other things that I know that they're doing too is we always talk about how eventually when people want to get people to the surface of Mars. Elon Musk wants to, NASA wants to, everybody wants to get somebody there. And I know there's some tests that they're also doing in association with that to kind of prepare for it. Is that right?
That's right. There's a very exciting instrument going on board Perseverance called MOXIE. And the idea of this instrument is that it's a test of whether it's possible to take in carbon dioxide and produce oxygen. Because obviously oxygen is really important for humans. We need it to breathe. But also for future manned missions, what we really need oxygen for is to act as propellant for fuel. So when you burn fuel, like whether it's in your car or whether it's a log on the fireplace, as well as the actual fuel, it's using a lot of the oxygen in Earth's atmosphere to create that reaction. And as Mars has very, very little oxygen in the atmosphere, it's really difficult to do something like propel a rocket from the Martian surface up into orbit. And so the idea is if this machine works and it's possible to create oxygen, then you could send a ship full of technology either 2 to 4 years in advance of any human party and have it sat on Mars and producing oxygen and storing it all up in a tank. So when humans did arrive, they would have all the oxygen they need ready to go right there on the surface for them.
That's so cool. Going from that, and again with this launch that's coming up later on this week, it's not the only launch towards Mars. It's certainly been a popular planet here over the last couple of weeks for other space agencies too. Can you fill us in on what some of the other ones were?
Yeah, there's going to be 3 launches to Mars this summer, which is very exciting. So just recently, there was the United Arab Emirates launched the HOPE mission, which is going to go into orbit around Mars and collect data on the Martian atmosphere, looking at weather and that sort of thing. And then China has also recently launched a probe to Mars called, I believe, Tianmen-1. And so it's a real target of research, though of course it's very difficult to get to Mars. And throughout the history, approximately half of all missions to Mars have failed to get there. So it's a real big technological challenge, but with 3 missions launching, like the odds are looking good that we'll have some new instruments in orbit or even on the surface of Mars, which is very exciting.
I love the fact that more countries, more agencies are launching them. I mean, the competition's always good when it comes to this, but just showcasing if we can get more up there, it's sorry, I get excited about it. Okay, I know I have one last thing here just to ask you about too, and that's something that I think is really cool is this helicopter that's going up with this launch. Can you tell us the details on that?
Yeah, there's a really amazing project that tucked in alongside the Perseverance rover, there's a teeny tiny little helicopter called Ingenuity. And the idea is that Ingenuity isn't going to look for science data. It's a pure technological test that no one has ever tried to fly a helicopter on another planet before. So it's really experimental. And the scientists want to know if it's like technologically feasible to fly heavier than aircraft on a different planet. And so there's this amazing piece of technology that is very small and very light. Because the Martian atmosphere is so thin, it's only about 1% the density of Earth's atmosphere. It's very difficult to get the kind of lift that you need to fly a helicopter. So they've made it extremely small and extremely lightweight with very large rotors that spin very, very quickly. And potentially it can charge itself using a solar panel, and it can navigate somewhat autonomously. And the idea is eventually, if this works, this could be used for scouting out ahead of rovers to find paths of like identifying targets of interest for scientific research. It could be used for accessing places like very high mountaintops or very deep canyons where rovers can't go. There's just so much potential for what could be done with helicopters on Mars. And so that's a really exciting test, which I can't wait to see how that works out. And that's going to be great.
Oh, the footage that they would be able to get with something like that, it'd be amazing. So that's all part of this too, part of this launch in particular. And that's, again, scheduled for July 30th. That's when the window opens up anyway for the launch for this Mars Perseverance rover and the helicopter and everything that goes with it. And we've got a lot of coverage at digitaltrends.com, so somebody can follow along there with everything that's happening with it. If you want to read more in-depth articles, Georgina's got you up to date on everything. It's so exciting. And Georgina, as always, thank you so much for being here on the show to talk about this.
My pleasure, Greg. Really nice to speak with you.
Nice to speak with you too. Georgina knows everything that's going on with all this. Seriously, we've got some great articles at digitaltrends.com that she has written about all kinds of different things associated with space exploration. So check it all out right there. I know I need to get to a break though, because we have our own Drew Prindle, who's going to be joining us next to talk about awesome tech you can't buy yet. So stick around. We'll be right back after this with more Digital Trends Live. Hello, this is Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler, and thanks for joining us here on this Monday because you are in for a treat. It's now time for Awesome Tech You Can't Buy Yet, where our own Drew Prindle will be here to talk about different things that he finds associated with crowdfunding campaigns. Drew, as always, so good to see you. Which one do you want to talk about here first?
All right, let's talk about this Jelly 2. It's an ultra small smartphone, which I am excited about just because it brings back that trend that we had going back when like cell phones were coming up in the first place and they weren't smart yet. They like every year they just kept getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and it was like this ongoing unspoken competition. And like Zoolander made fun of it. It was like this whole popular culture thing. And we lost that when smartphones came up. And then they just started getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And honestly, I'm running out of pocket space, which is why I love this thing. The Jelly 2, ultra small smartphone. And it runs Android 10. So the latest version of Android, it totally works on this phone. It's got dual SIM card slots. It's got a 16 megapixel camera. I mean, the only thing that kind of sucks about it is, yeah, you got a small display. But if you're actually into this, I don't think you'll be worried about the small display. You'll probably be more stoked about the fact that it can actually fit in your pocket. Plus, it's also only $159, which is dirt cheap.
So, I mean, I like the idea of being something smaller. The problem is my thumbs would suck on this. I mean, it's just terrible. So, like, how are you going to type on something that small?
That is a fabulous question. I don't know. I mean, I really don't think it's as hard as you're thinking it is, because if you remember back to like the original iPhone, this is only a little bit smaller than the screen that was on that. And that changed the game. Everybody was like, oh my gosh, it's so easy to type on this. Like, who needs a BlackBerry anymore? So I don't think it'll be that bad. I think we could probably pull it off.
I think you should do that voice for your impression of anybody questioning tech from now on. But okay, so we got the Jelly 2. So this is up there as Kickstarter right now. Oh yeah, a lot of people like it. So as of this moment, $50,000 was their goal. They're at $743,000 right now with 23 days to go. Apparently everybody wants the Jelly 2. So the world's smallest Android 10 4G smartphone for awesome tech you can't buy yet. All right, going from there, what's the next one you want to hit up?
Let's talk about the Print Hero, this 3D printer thing. It's insane. So this thing is, they call it like an industrial level 4K SLA 3D printer. And all of that is true. But like really what this is it's a resin printer. So if you know anything about 3D printers, there's the first ones that came out back in like the MakerBot era that were the ones that used filament and they would heat it up and it was basically like a robot with a glue gun and it would just, paint layer by layer until it made an object. What happened after those kind of came and rose to fame was this different style of 3D printer rises up, which is resin printers. They use photo-curable resin so that hardens when light hits it, and they're way faster. They're capable of way higher detail. The only problem was they all still kind of are super, super small. If you want a large one, you have to pay a lot of money to get one. But this is different. This thing is, first of all, it's massive. It has a huge build area. In the video on Kickstarter, if you watch it, there's actually a section where they take a model that was printed on there and it's a full-size bike helmet. Like, obviously it's not, I mean, it's like full plastic. It's not like a working bike helmet, but like that's the size of thing that you could print. So in addition to that, having that huge build area that allows you to print all kinds of different like functional items, it's also around like $1,300, which sounds like a lot of money, but that's basically what 3D printers used to cost back when like the MakerBots of the world were coming out. Like that's a pretty standard price, and for something of this size, that's pretty reasonable price.
So the Print Hero, I mean, I like this idea of it, although it seems like mostly just printing like gadgets and toys and things like that, but still pretty cool. That is, and again, a lot of people are wanting this too. So it's $10,000 goal, $71,000 as far as the backing. So they've got a lot of backing on that. 25 days to go on it. It does look cool. I mean, that's something that I would totally want to have in, hanging out in there. What's that? It's my 3D printer. But there we go. So that is the Print Hero industrial level 4K SLA 3D printer for large print. And then we've got our final one here. And you know what? I'm going to be honest, I don't know how to pronounce this one, so I'm going to let you do that. But what is it that we're talking about here with this one?
It's called the Pixu Max. So you remember light brights?
Yes.
You remember? Of course, you remember light brights. Who could forget light brights? This is effectively. I've been waiting for this device. This is the digital light bright. It's basically just a grid of pixels that you can designate a color on, whatever you want, and you can do all of this through an app and save it and animate the photo on this little just LED display. It's a pretty simple little device, but here's the part I love about it. They actually advertise that you should use it in your car to like display messages to other drivers. And the people have been dancing around this idea on Kickstarter for years. I've probably mentioned a couple of them on this show. That's like, oh, wave hello to the person behind you, or give them like a smiley face or a frowny face. It's never what you actually want to say. It's just like, screw you or something. Like you can actually say that now because you can customize it 100%. So you can write whatever message you want, whether it's positive or negative or whatever on this thing, and stick it in your car. And that's why I like
it. I like the idea of the chaos this is going to cause, depending on what somebody does right on that thing. But so it's basically a light bright. So you can just customize it to wherever you want. Yeah, built-in LED screen. Draw animation, display favorite logos, communicate with other drivers on the road.
I love that for some reason they're like,
your
of
phone
course.
where you can change it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so you can just change it on the fly depending on how happy you are. Oh yeah, okay. Never take it. Yeah, it has voice command control. That is a bad thing for me. If I were to have that, the spontaneous. Yeah, this could be bad. All right, so this is, again, the technology is cool, though. So this is the Devoom Pixu Max multi-purpose DIY pixel art LED display, but like Drew said, I mean, it's a light bright. That's essentially what it is. That you can display your messages to other drivers. And that one right now for the project, they had a real specific $1,548 goal. They're at $40,000 now, so 16 days ago, so a lot of people want this. This does sound like fun. I feel like I'll get in trouble, but nonetheless, yeah, I think I would back this one. Drew, would you back this one?
Oh, totally. I've wanted a display in my car to like send messages to tailgaters and other people that suck on the road for so long, and I could never find the thing that I wanted. And this seems like it might be it. Like there might be a little bit of groundwork, like I'll have to hand create the messages and displays that I want, but you know what? I'm into that. I would do that.
Just furiously typing on your phone to send a message. Well, that's again the Devoom Pixu Max for our third one here for Awesome Tech you can't buy yet. And we've got all of these at digitaltrends.com too, an entire section of all of these different crowdfunding campaigns that Drew goes out and finds for you on the internet. It's always fun. Drew, I will talk to you next time.
Later, man.
Drew Prindle, right here, Awesome Tech You Can't Buy Yet, every Monday with all of that, kind of rounding up some of his favorite ones from all these crowdfunding campaigns. All right, so let's talk about tomorrow on Digital Trends Live. So we've got David and Finn of Tech Kaboom. So they're going to be on here for our full screen segment that we have every week. We've got John Velasco who's going to join us and kind of do a roundup of some of the best smart home speakers, because there's a lot of them out there, and he gets to go test them all. So he's going to kind of round out what some of the best ones are for you, and that's on tomorrow's show. And of course, all of the latest news when it comes to technology, all the news, anything, headlines that are happening, we've got you covered right here. So hit subscribe, whatever platform you're on. That way you get the notification, pops right up. You're like, oh, it's time to watch Digital Trends Live. That's what I'm going to do right now. So anyway, I think it's a good idea. I'm Greg Nibbler. I'll be right back here tomorrow with another edition of Digital Trends Live.